GARDAI gave Evan Fitzgerald the gun to do an attempted mass shooting at Fairgreen Shopping Centre. What the hell is going on? Stay tuned for this one. This is the most insane story and YouTube video I'm ever going to make. It's going to be a long one, so grab your popcorn, grab your Lucasade, everything that you guys like, and stay tuned. This is insane, okay? A lot of people don't understand. I reacted to this story about this attempted mass shooting, or this Evan Fitzgerald who shot up the Fairgreen Shopping Centre and then turned the gun on himself and unalived himself. I made a video about that a few weeks ago, but new stories are coming out every single day about the GARDAI performing entrapment on him. They actually gave him the guns. Then he robbed another gun from his friend's house and went to this shopping centre and ultimately killed himself as a 22-year-old man. You know, never involved with gang crime. You know, this is a crazy story, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to explain everything here. And let's get straight into it. Here we have the Minister, Alan Kelly, TD, talking about the travesty that was this case, okay?
In the remaining time, I also, considering the act that we are discussing, want to raise some issues in relation to the case of Evan Fitzgerald and the manner in which he was arrested, charged, and his suicide. I want to say to you, Minister, and I want to say this in a very, I suppose, honest way. I've probably never said this before, but it's one of the most disturbing things I've ever had to deal with in my life, not just in my career. From everything I know now, it's harrowing. It's so disturbing, and I'm actually deeply upset about it. Being honest, I've actually had sleepless nights in relation to this issue.
Guys, wait for this information. A lot of people aren't talking about this in Ireland. I don't know what's happened. There's like a cover-up. This is crazy. This guy just said he had sleepless nights because of this case. This is insane, this goddamn case.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Please make sure you keep it relevant to this piece of legislation.
And please be sure that I'm here a long time and I've seen what is brought up in relation to bills.
Shut up, bitch. Jesus. Kane Crawler trying to chime in here. Crazy.
I was made aware that this Garda operation some time ago, months ago, long before this young man took his own life. As you're aware, the journalist John Lee wrote about it in the Mail on Sunday. So much has happened in this case that doesn't add up, and that creates a nervousness for me around this new legislation as well. What is clear and obvious is what he was doing was wrong. None of us can argue that. Totally wrong. And I hope, Minister, you reflect on what I'm saying in a deeply honest way. It was wrong. He was a vulnerable young man. He was also, though, something else. He was a young man who loved his family. He was a young man who was incredibly close to his childhood friends. And I know this to be true. And considering the legislation we're looking at, it's true to say that he had a fascination with guns. The guards have admitted it. But again, given what we're talking about, Evan Fitzgerald wasn't a terrorist. He wasn't involved in organised crime. He wasn't involved in any crime, for that matter. He took his own life, and I understand he couldn't see any way out, and that he felt so badly for everything that happened, particularly in relation to his two friends and their families.
So he and his two friends were facing massive criminal charges, okay? Like terrorist charges, like attempted to buy weapons on the internet. And the Gardaí gave him the weapons. And this is my thought process, and it was said in the mainstream news. The Gardaí gave him fake guns with like the pin removed, I believe. So like it didn't have a firing mechanism. But they gave him like big firearms. And it was like a stitch-up job. They gave him the guns so then that he would lead them to like terrorist organizations or like criminals in Ireland or something like that. But he didn't. He wasn't. He just wanted to maybe play with the guns, shoot them around. Like every kid, a masculine kid with a masculine imperative, myself included, had a fascination with the army, you know, airsoft, paintballing. Every kid has a fascination with that. If you have any masculine or testosterone in your body, you're obsessed with, you know, the army, the US Army, and bombs and all that shit. You know, you just do, guys, okay? You kind of grow out of that as you get older. But make no mistake about it, this kid was innocent, and they actually did an enhanced sort of really crazy controlled delivery by the Gardaí to actually give him the guns, and then he ended up going to jail for it. Then he was on bail, so he ended up taking his own life because he couldn't handle going to jail for 20 years. I mean, this guy was getting put on massive charges, you know, and he wasn't a terrorist. He wasn't even a member of a gang organization. He had no gang affiliations, and the Gardaí thought that he had gang affiliations. So maybe he put the weapon, you know, with the pin, he like altered the gun so he could make it firing again. Like, this is just insane, man.
What this House and these houses need to ask is, did he need to end up in that situation, in that dark hole? Today, which is quite ironic given the legislation we're discussing, today the Gardaí are detailed in the Irish Examiner how they use controlled deliveries. Why they feel they need to put this out there, I have no idea. For the record, I have no issue with controlled deliveries. When they are used appropriately for terrorist or organised crime reasons, I have no issue with that at all.
Yeah, so what, you know, if you guys ever saw those shows where they like leave out a bike or leave a car open and then they hop in the car, it's called entrapment. It's actually not illegal in Ireland, but it's kind of, you know, it's very hard to use in court. You can't use that evidence in court, okay? Because it's kind of bullshit evidence. You've kind of like led the guy to actually committing the crime. But, you know, the fact that they would lead this guy and try and give him firearms, I just don't understand. He bought these firearms apparently on the dark web, but in reality, he was just buying them from the Gardaí. Like, what the... Crazy!
It is by and large good policing, actually. However, they have to be used appropriately.
Jesus.
I have serious concern, though, when they're used on a vulnerable young man who, as a consequence of the Garda Síochána's actions, took his own life very publicly and had an impact on many other people in that shopping centre, I have no doubt. I understand the H&K G3 military assault rifle delivered to him was stolen by the Provisional IRA from Norwegian reserves in 1984 and recovered by Garda Síochána well over 20 years ago.
Gee, so they gave him a H&K, that's Heckler and Koch firearm, like a semi-automatic rifle. Like, what? Why would they do that? Like, what the hell? They were trying to get this guy on criminal charges, but it's like, this is too extreme, guys. This is like just some stupid kid looking for guns. They should have never have given him guns or even helped him with that. You know, it wasn't like he was constantly looking. He would have just got bored and then just would have stopped looking. You know, I don't even know, man. This is crazy.
What I can't understand, and never will, is why the Gardaí didn't take a different strategy, especially after meeting him.
Right.
Observing him. Talking to him. Following him. Profiling him. I suppose the critical question, Minister, is why wasn't there a knock on the door? Was it really necessary to expend weeks of costly operations involving some of the most important Garda units to entrap this young man?
Like, you have big units like GSOC. You have all these big, massive, like, I think GSOC, that's what it's called. Big, huge Gardaí units, detectives, you know, firearms detectives, guys like that following this guy. To get what? He's not involved in any crime. Like, he was just a stupid kid. They should have just said, hey, join the army. Like, if you want to shoot guns and, like, go and fight in wars, just join the flipping defense forces. You know? Like, oh, man. This guy is now dead. And then the newspapers... They also lied. They said straight away, white Irish male. How did they identify the guy so quickly? He blew his flipping head off with a gun. How did they identify this guy who shot himself in the face so quickly? But they didn't identify the next day 2 Algerian men who nearly died because they stabbed each other in broad daylight. They just said man got stabbed in Key Street in Dublin. Man, there's some crazy shit going on behind the scenes. I'm telling you, this year and next year, there's going to be some unraveling of crazy stuff. It's like True Detective Season 1. I don't even know. This is like crazy shit, guys.
Necessary to go arrest him in the manner in which they did, smashing in the windows of the car they're in, when they knew there was actually no threat. I suppose the other critical question is, why did Garda Síochána need such a big win? Why did they agree to bail? Why did they agree to bail if he wasn't such a big threat? And why did they agree to bail if he warranted such a costly and high-profile Garda operation?
What the hell is going on?
I want to raise some issues with you, Minister, which are critical. And one is the evidence given in court by the Garda in March 2024. And I'm asking you a very direct question, and something I hope you will reflect on, because I do believe you to be a very decent man. I ask you as Minister for Justice to read over the DAR, which is the court report, of the court sitting where Evan and his two friends were charged. There needs to be full accountability on this, Minister, from the Garda Commissioner down. Maybe you should sit down with the Garda Commissioner on it. But please, please, please read the DAR. We cannot tolerate untruths being told to a district court judge. In the Shannon on Tuesday, Senator Michael McDowell said the same. Not alone was it a case of entrapment, but the fact is that what was said in the court wasn't accurate. It wasn't true. Amazingly enough, Garda Síochána in the media say that they're unaware of a judge being misled. They again are answering a question they weren't asked. They said it is unaware of any court case where a judge categorically stated that a member of Garda Síochána misled them. How could the judge say that when the judge wasn't aware? The judge was told, and this was read into the record in the Shannon by Senator McDowell, the judge was told the arms were bought in the dark web. The judge later asked, when you say the dark web, do you have any idea who was selling them on the dark web? And a member of Garda Síochána in sworn evidence told him that is an ongoing investigation. At this stage, I wouldn't want to. And the judge said, compromise the trial. And then the Garda said, this is an ongoing investigation on the dark web. Minister, we now know the guns and ammunition was supplied by Garda Síochána and not on the dark web by anyone else.
So the Gardaí gave, this is a stitch-up job. They try to get this guy in jail on terrorist charges. He's just some stupid kid, oh, man, this is crazy.
They're supplied by Garda Síochána.
Not the dark web. The dark web is basically a place where there's a lot of pornography, I think. I've never been on the dark web, but they have that, and they sell guns and gang stuff and hitmen. You can hire somebody to kill someone for you. It's just first of all, that shouldn't even exist. Just crazy.
Senator McDowell, he said it is it is a shocking thing that untrue and misleading evidence would be given to a judge in the Irish District Court in these circumstances, leaving him in the dark that these were decommissioned weapons supplied in a controlled delivery by members of Garda Síochána to set up one naive young man.
Did they want him to go crazy? Did they want him to go shoot up a shopping centre? What's the background? I don't understand, because he then stole a shotgun from his neighbour, and then just did some crazy stuff.
The central issue is that any deception, and I use that in the sense of deception for the right reasons, Minister, in executing a worthy Garda operation, needs to end when the independent, impartial judicial process begins. Do you get that? This didn't happen in this case. If John Lee in the Mail on Sunday hadn't raised this issue, I'm not sure we would have ever known. The book of evidence was served after his articles, and we don't know what Evan Fitzgerald knew about the entrapment before he took his own life. There are no legitimate circumstances in where the judiciary are deliberately kept in the dark by misleading evidence concerning the substance of what precedes the exercise of the judicial function, Minister. If controlled delivery involving deception is legitimate and is justified to produce evidence of guilt, once the evidence is brought into existence, the right to deceive falls away when the judicial function is invoked. The judge is entitled to expect that the whole truth will be tendered in evidence as required by the oath. In this case, informing the judge that the question of the source of the firearms is still under investigation was not true. The source was known to the Gardaí. The untrue evidence tendered was intended to conceal the truth from the court and the persons charged.
So the Gardaí basically just didn't want to tell people that they supplied the guns to him, and did a case of entrapment. Oh man, brutal stuff.
The true position in relation to the source of the firearms and the fact that they had been rendered useless was relevant to the bail decision and to the judicial process and judicial discretion.
Oh my God.
You need to deal with this, Minister.
This is insane.
You really do. This isn't going away. The follow-up by Garda Síochána since Evan Fitzgerald took his own life is also worrying. The briefings that have gone out from security sources that people like myself and Senator McDowell, and I hope others will take an interest in this now, shouldn't be speaking up on this issue, and such commentary as mantra from heaven for organised crime groups is insulting to both chambers. We are entitled to ask legitimate questions, and I think I've said enough here to show that these are legitimate questions. Minister, why did I have to tell you about this? You know, and in fairness, you've admitted that I rang you in relation to this case. And I appreciate the fact that you acknowledge that, but I also appreciate the fact that you took those calls. But surely under Section 31 of the Police and Security and Community Act 2024, the Garda Commissioner should have done so. Because in fairness, you hadn't a clue. Also, there were reports, well, maybe your department knew, Minister. I don't know that. But you, in fairness, in the tone of the call, didn't know. I'm not saying you didn't have a clue in a derogatory way. I'm saying you actually genuinely didn't have a clue, in fairness to you. Also, there were reports of a manifesto being present on the USB key left by Evan. I understand there is no manifesto. Why was that put out there?
Oh my God. So they said that he had a manifesto to shoot up the shopping center, to use the guns in a terrorist act. What? Man, the cover-ups in this country, man. Like, holy crap. I mean, this is some crazy stuff, guys.
The Garda keeps saying that this issue was investigated by FISRU, the new GSOC, and miraculously, considering the length of time numerous investigations have been taken by this organisation over many, many years, they turned this around in 3 weeks. That's not what happened. There was no investigation.
Oh my God.
If there was, surely all the Gardaí that were involved would have been interviewed, and so would many others. Indeed, I might have been interviewed myself. The journalists might have been contacted. They weren't. The Garda Commissioner has been asked to supply details to the Justice Committee of what was sent to FISRU, and I look forward to seeing that. I presume it was the file on the case and possibly the newspaper articles from John Lee about this case.
Crazy.
Minister, your department said on the 10th of May that it was aware of this case but couldn't comment because it had been sent to FISRU. The Garda Commissioner has confirmed that it was sent to FISRU on the 21st. So I don't get how on the 10th of May that was said. But more importantly for me is I believe there's a real issue here for FISRU, a new organisation that is commencing its work. I said in this House that GSOC had lost all credibility for the way in which it was dealing with cases. They now have an opportunity to start afresh. This, I believe, is a case that needs to be looked at.
So yeah, GSOC monitors the Gardaí behaviour, basically. Okay.
Minister, in conclusion, I believe there has to be an investigation in relation to this case. And I want to commend you on something, because you rang me on this. You did the right thing when it came to the Shane O'Farrell case.
Deputy.
I'm finishing up. You did the right thing when it came to the Shane O'Farrell case, and I commend you for that. You now need to show courage when it comes to the Evan Fitzgerald case. And I will commend you and thank you if you do so.
Thank you, Deputy. We now move to Deputy Donald.
Absolutely insane. I mean, when I heard all that stuff that was basically covered up, you know, the guy wasn't really a threat. You know, they gave him the guns, and then he basically, what did he do? He got arrested, so then he was on bail for like ages because he was under a terrorist offense, like crazy shit. And then the guy's facing huge time in prison, which you should be. Like, if you're a terrorist in this country, you should go to jail forever, you know, in my personal opinion. But the guy obviously clearly wasn't just some random kid who's obsessed with guns and just, you know, he just liked. Everyone was like that. In school, you should have seen the nutcases that I went to school with. I went to school with, like, we're talking a low-income household school in the west of Ireland. Everyone was crazy, obsessed with knives, guns, all that shit. You just grow out of that shit at 25. You know, you're like, okay, I have to, you know, start making money now. Or else you join the military, you kind of get that out of your system. Like, there's certain things that you do to kind of get that out of your system. This guy did not need to die. And then he felt such embarrassment from going to jail for so long. He stole a gun from his neighbor and a handgun and then killed himself. Man, I don't even know. Like, shit is going to come out about that in the next few years, and it's going to be mind-boggling. You couldn't even imagine. Let me know your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe. I love you all, and I'll see you guys in the next one. If you want to support me, hit the join link, become a member for just the price of a coffee per month, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.